not exactly hidden. To say Cal's Tarn is frustrated and angry is to understate things. His home has been ravaged, his family has been shattered, and he can do nothing about it. He knows nothing about the woods beyond the basics and has no training. He can't help his family recover. He's no healer. He can't rebuild Nodok. He doesn't know anything about architecture. There's something wrong. His family weeps, but he can only feel rage. He paces. He wrings his hands and stomps to try and get himself under control. Then a hand is on his shoulder and he lashes out. It hits a hard stomach and there's a sensation as if the rage is bleeding off. He looks up to see Morg Arkin looking down at him. It takes a long time to get used to it. Come on, before you hurt yourself. Morg Arkin tells him and starts guiding him away. Does it ever get better? You need the problem solved for things to get better. You're part of the woods now, even if you can't hear it. A wound will always be remembered so long as the threat remains. Until this is dealt with, and you know it is dealt with, it will never go away. It will not get better until it's dealt with. But you will get better at dealing with it, Morg Arkin states. It's why in all the stories sorcerers calm down almost right away. It actually happens before they're beaten, as the first thing we go after is the cause of our pain. When it's dead, everything after that is just momentum. If someone stops us, it's not a problem because we've already got what we want. And when will that happen for me? Cal's Tarn asks, as he lets Morg Arkin guide him. Much sooner than for most. We're working on things now, collecting information to find out who's well and truly responsible. Baroness Uth Tyr, the treacherous bitch. Cal's Tarn snarls. Morg Arkin gives out a slight humming sound before pulling out his communicator and selecting a recording. He lets it play before handing it to Cal's Tarn. He then catches it as the young boy throws it when he hears the voice of the Baroness. Control yourself. Your rage is a weapon. You must command it or you will be commanded by it, Morg Arkin states as the recording continues. The Baroness's voice eventually stops and Koga's comes in. It's a report. He's spying on her, gathering information and making a report piece by piece, going through her files and data while whispering to his communicator about what he's finding. It's a whole load of nothing, and Cal's Tarn nearly shakes in anger. He's not doing it right. He should be finding out all the horrible things that she's done. Cal's Tarn protests and Morg Arkin nods. Yes, he should, but only if there's something to find, he says, and Cal's Tarn looks confused. Think about it. Isn't it weird that someone would do something secretly but still have a badge of office on? Maybe she's just stupid. Maybe, but you don't know, do you? Morg Arkin asks, and Cal's Tarn gives him a betrayed look. Think about it. What better way to deal with a sorcerer than to trick them? Convince them it's someone else. Or better yet, someone you don't like that's responsible. Cal's Tarn looks shocked at the idea and stops following as he goes completely still. But that means we've interrogated the Baroness. The very idea of a sorcerer out for her blood made her collapse in fear. She's very aware of how bad an idea it is to create a sorcerer. That's on top of the fact that she would have to save up money for a long time or sell some very unique treasures in order to afford an army like the one we destroyed last night. So it's not only probably not her, but she's likely someone else your enemy tried to hurt. Then who did this? We're still looking, Morg Arkin states before sighing. We're going to have to trust the humans on this. They're good and eager to figure out who's responsible. Do you trust them? Cal's Tarn asks, and Morg Arkin considers. Part of me wants to say no. A lot of me does. But then I think about it. Really think about it. They don't act like sorcerers of old, but that's because they're not sorcerers of old. They're soldiers and they're bringing that into sorcery. The woods accepts them and they accept the wood. But it was fast. Too fast. They were all too ready to be sorcerers. Like they were waiting their whole lives just for a chance to be part of something greater. So, Cal's Tarn prompts. Cal's Tarn. They're different. They don't start out unready and unsure. Maybe if a human child met the forest, they would be more like a normal sorcerer. But they're fully grown, blooded, and strong already, Morg Arkin says as he considers. If I had been trained and skilled with weapons when I first went into the woods, then I suppose I'd be a lot calmer and happier too. I didn't know aliens could become sorcerers. It caught everyone by surprise. I think the only person who wasn't confused was that silly Miro Noir character. Miro Noir? A battle princess. She won some years ago. You would have been very young at the time. Morg Arkin answers. A skilled fighter, but her head was full of fantasy and romance. She was known as Miro Noir the Matchless because she was not only very young, but was so very picky when it came to finding a husband. Wait, wasn't she the one married to that man that broke his own shell? Kals Tarn asks, and Morg Arkin nods in response. Yes, the silly girl found exactly what she was looking for after a while. A soppy, fluff-headed romantic human eager to be her husband. Then he went and became the first alien sorcerer. Apparently, it wasn't even a big thing. Just reached out to the wood and then made contact. Made it look easy. Made it look like an entire lifetime of pain and torment was nothing. Morg Arkin turns and spits. That's my problem with humans. They make it look easy. They make it look like a lifetime of pain and suffering was just a waste of time. Oh, Kals Tarn says, and Morg Arkin shakes his head. Don't take my problems for yours. They want to help you. No one becomes a sorcerer without some kind of problem. Or rather, there used to be no such thing as a mentally well sorcerer. They want to change that. They want you to have a better life than me, and I can't fault them for that. I want it too. Even if I do find them annoying as all hell, Morg Arkin says. But what makes them annoying? Kals Tarn presses and then steps well away as he can feel a sudden swell of rage blast from Morg Arkin. They didn't suffer for it. They didn't earn it. They just walked up, and the woods were theirs. I spent years alone in the dark forest. Was it for nothing? He then huffs and runs a hand through his hair until he hits his horns and considers while hanging on to the left horn for a little. Was it? Kals Tarn asks, and Morg Arkin considers. The image of his sister's bakery, always incredibly busy during the bi-annual shellcracker tournaments, his mother's home and humble but well-paying job in sanitation. His father working to keep the entire family stable and balanced. The unimaginable bitch that had destroyed the family business and those of countless others in her rise to power sinking into stone. Her ambitions shattered around her. He grins. No, it wasn't. Who was it? Kals Tarn asks. Her name was Yen3. She owned the 3 business conglomeration. She pushed it from a fuel supply depot into a convenience and snack cellar as well. She would deliberately open her stores near competition with prices that cost her company money in order to undercut and crash enemy businesses, and then up the price when the competition was gone. She did it so many times that my family had trouble feeding ourselves, and there was talk of social services coming to take me out of there. So I left in the night to go to the dark woods so my family could eat better. I left a letter and everything. So, because she was trying to make a lot of money, you killed her? Kals Tarn asks. There was more than that. The bitch was forcing my family out of our home so she could wreck it and make another store. She, or one of her minions, was the one that called social services on my family. Apparently bringing up a little boy when you don't have a job is a bad thing. Never mind deliberately destroying the family's jobs, then calling social services so you can take the house too. Morg Arkin says bitterly. So how did you get to the dark forest? None of them are anywhere near the capital. Kals Tarn asks, and Morg Arkin grins. Oh, that? Well, it's time for you to learn a little secret of the woods that few people put together, mostly because they don't want to. It makes them even scarier. Morg Arkin says as they turn the corner together, and he points to where the greenhouses once were. The fruit-bearing vines, bushes, and trees have never been bigger, healthier, or more vibrant than they are now. Even though both Morg Arkin and Cal's Tarn are carnivores, they still look tempting and the smell is enticing even from half a block away. Why are we going to the greenhouses anyways? The forest is the opposite way, Cal's Tarn asks, and Morg Arkin smiles. The dark forest is the dark forest. No matter where in the woods you are in the woods. That's what saved me years ago. What do you mean? Cal's Tarn is understandably confused. In the woods, there is a village. You saw it last night. Do you remember it? Morg Arkin asks, and Cal's Tarn nods. Sort of. We weren't there long. Lead the way, Morg Arkin states, pointing to the alien plants. But it's that way, Cal's Tarn says, pointing to the dark forest in the distance. It's also that way. It's in the woods. The woods are there, too. Morg Arkin corrects him. Is this a sorcerer trick? Cal's Tarn looks confused. Sort of. This is the step before wood walking, one that you don't need to hear the woods to do. The wood just needs to hear you instead, Morg Arkin says before snorting. It's also the only real way to get around the woods when you're off what few trails it has. The dark forest is constantly changing things. You will be hopelessly lost without the forest actively helping you. If you go to sleep, the ground under you can be picked up and moved somewhere else. Wait, the forest moves. The forest eats fire, so lasers and plasma too. The forest hits back, the forest thinks. It's like being in a fortress that fights back, isn't it? There is no safer place if the forest likes you, no more dangerous place if it doesn't like you, Morg Arkin acknowledges. And it's all connected, Cal's Tarn says as he looks to the overgrown fruit trees and starts walking. It's all one. Morg Arkin agrees as he follows the child into the grove of fruit trees. Whoa, Cal's Tarn says as he steps past the trees to find himself on the same plateau as the village. With wood walking, you don't even need to be near another part of the woods to be in a part of the woods. You're simply there when you need it, Morg Arkin says. Come along. No doubt they've set up a little home for you already. But I have a home. You're a sorcerer now. Not a strong one, though. You'll need to spend time in the woods to learn from the woods and learn to listen, so you'll need a place to stay while you do that. Morg Arkin explains and then snorts in amusement as a pair of tiny figures start rushing up. Also, meet Jeth Erla and Mux Morrow, two younger sorcerers in training. They're a bit more advanced than you are, so they have as much to teach you as you have to teach them. What do I have to teach them? Cal's Tarn asks. You're older. I'm sure you'll think of something. These two don't know the real touch of wrath. Mux Morrow is especially innocent. So the most important thing they have to teach you is how not to express your rage. They don't deserve your hate. They don't deserve your anger, and they will help you in many things. So you must control yourself, Morg Arkin says. It's like me and the humans. They anger me, but they have done nothing but help me. So I must control myself. I don't understand. What makes the wrath of a sorcerer the stuff of legends is that it always falls first on the head of the most deserving. The rest is collateral. You need to hold it in until you know exactly where to put it first, Morg Arkin says as he pats Cal's Tarn on the shoulder. Now play nice. Hey, hi. You're Cal's Tarn, right? The first of the two shouts as they both rush up. I'm Mux Morrow. This is Jeth Erla. Are you going to be here long? The men say they're helping you get the bad guy fast. What happened? Behind both boys is one of the men that Cal's Tarn vaguely recognizes from the previous night. He had shown up with all sorts of wild game in order to feed people and make sure that the living could stay that way. Are you all right? Mux and I were both sleeping while everything happened, Jeth Erla asks, and Cal's Tarn considers before looking back at Morg Arkin. I think I'm going to be, maybe.